Hello, and welcome to another fully live Q&A episode of Hacking with Friends. My name is Kody Kinzie. I'm a security researcher at Varonis, and this week we have my good friend and fellow researcher, Nick, on instead of Alex. Hello.
Hi.
So, Nick worked with me on the Nullbyte channel and also has contributed to Hack5 as well. And this includes one of our best performing of all time episodes, which, if we go over to my screen, I guess we can. I'm sorry, that's such an unfortunate.
Yeah.
Let me just keep it. Let me just keep that. There you go. You look concerned. This is one of the best performing Hack5 episodes ever, which is pretty crazy because you've made, again, what, like 3 episodes on Hack5?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if Nick is not a familiar face, then I can go over to the Nullbyte channel where there are lots of episodes by Nick. You've done like 30 something episodes. So, what was it like being one of the original hosts on Nullbyte and actually like working out of our Los Angeles studio to try to continue to produce content even when the rest of the team packed up and moved out to Montana?
Yeah, well, I got there like right just after you guys got started. So like at the first, like it was barely even a studio. And then I got to saw all the gradual evolution to the nice studio you have here. But yeah, once the pandemic started and you guys packed up and I was there to man the place in LA, it was like a real skeleton crew. But yeah, me and Eric got it done for those 30 or 40 episodes. Yeah. And now Nullbyte is no more as far as I can tell. So
yeah, so
this is going strong.
So you also were going to school for a while. So you just graduated recently. Congratulations.
Yep. Yeah, thank you very much.
So if you're wondering where Nick went, if he got hit by a bus or like why he only made a couple like banger episodes and then vanished, well now you know. He's keeping it mysterious. Leveling up.
Yeah, appearing every once in a while.
I've been
on these streams, but it's been like a year since the last one.
Yeah. So it's good to see you again. And for anybody who's asking, what is your favorite Nullbyte episode that you did?
Ooh, my favorite Nullbyte. The one, it was like a really niche issue, but there was an exploit in Linux Mint where if you sent someone like a corrupted video file, you can get a reverse shell into their computer. And I thought that was so off the wall, even if it wasn't that practical. I really liked making that video. Yeah.
Making those videos is really fun because you can pick something that you want to like individually learn, go ahead and learn it, and then if you can turn around and do a presentation on it, you've basically gotten paid to learn the subject.
Yeah.
So that was probably the most fun part of working on the Nullbyte channel for me.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun job. I learned a lot, like the ins and outs of Linux, which helps for like almost any profession nowadays.
So hello to everybody live in the chat. It's good to see everyone here. If you have a question, go ahead and throw it in the chat, but we're also going to start out with a couple different questions we've taken off of the videos that we've done over the last couple of weeks. Because, if you're here and your question doesn't get answered, we like to go back and make sure we get the really good ones and put them up so we answer them. So let's go ahead and pick some of those questions. Nick, do you want to read the first one?
Yeah. So this one is from Rational Bushcraft, so this is a comment to the 7-zip taking half step to block malware. Yes, I kind of agree that the mark of the web is crap to be annoying when I'm working on a user's workstation and need to do something that I need to click on 12 different warnings just to run something. I know it's safe, just like a custom application or install we created. Run-on sentence aside, yes, like Windows alone can be very annoying with warnings, but you got to keep in mind like Windows is for the entire population and they're keeping the lowest common denominator in mind when they're creating these security features.
Yeah, another thing is this is off by default. So while the creator of 7-zip, you very recently learned what the mark of the web is, right? Can you explain it?
So it's basically Windows will like compartmentalize like where you get programs from. So programs that they're already there locally are more trustworthy, but something you just randomly download for the internet is more likely to be malicious software. So anything you download from the internet, Windows will flag with this mark of the web and basically run it in a more secure state. Did I get that right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, so it'll run documents in safe mode. It'll disable macros, which are very common attack vectors for people who are trying to trick somebody into opening a malicious file. So this mark of the web just kind of adds an extra layer of security. But the problem here was that if you download a zip file and then you use 7-zip to unzip it, it doesn't add that mark of the web to any subsequent files, and they will download and run, or they can be downloaded and run with complete privilege. So that's not good, and it does strip away a little bit of those protections that are kind of built in.
Yeah.
So what do you think about this comment?
I understand the sentiment because like Windows warnings are annoying, but I think in general it does, the guardrails can't keep you safe, especially when you're downloading random stuff off the internet.
Yeah, because not every user is as advanced as you, and obviously, yeah, it's super annoying to have to go through all those pop-ups and like, like things guaranteeing that you did intend to run this file and like warning you it might not be safe. So yeah, like again, it is off by default. So if you continue to use 7-zip, that same problem is actually still the default condition. So in this case, I don't think it'll actually have much of an impact on user safety unless you, the admin, go in and enable that on like every single workstation or something that has 7-zip. So.
Yep.
All right, next question.
Oh, I think you're going to have to read this one. I think this one seems like it needs context.
All right, so the context of this is that we were talking about how the Israeli government had created a bot that is supposed to look for available appointments and book one for you. So if I'm a member of the public and I want to like book an appointment, I just go interact with this chatbot and it will automatically book the soonest appointment I can get. So scalpers have gone through and booked every single available appointment and made it so that it is impossible for regular people to get an appointment in a rush without going through this criminal element that's grabbed up all the good appointments and now holds a monopoly on them. This is kind of sticky too because they can't just delete all these appointments because there's plenty of legitimate ones that have been booked through this chat. So unfortunately, this layer of interference is now existing between like the people that are trying to book appointments and then the government agencies that are supposedly providing them for free, but instead have now, through this like thing that they created to try to be convenient, now enabled a completely new business model, which is being exploited by criminals.
I mean, yeah, this is like, this basically happens with any kind of like ticketing system on the internet, whether it be concerts or any kind of events. It's just much more nefarious to be applied for, what I'm guessing is medical appointments.
Yeah.
That's like a little, like, like tickets for a Doja Cat concert becoming like 100 times more expensive is one thing, but like someone not being able to access like medical treatment that they need.
Or renew their passport and leave the country, like when they have a trip scheduled.
Very nefarious.
Yeah. It's kind of putting a stranglehold on like all the things people need to like live a normal life by like booking out all the public appointments and like holding them for ransom.
Yeah, and it's another example of like, like technology is always a double-edged sword, and like it can create like much more convenient methods for booking appointments, but then new problems always arise, and we'll find a way to fix it somehow. But
so this isn't even a question, it's a comment, we were talking about how terrible the graph is in this particular news article where they tried to like graph the complexity of the scalping bots with like all these different features and countermeasures, but it just looked crazy. So I really appreciate the attempt to detangle what that graph meant, but I'm not sure if it'll ever be clear. All right, next one.
Okay. Shelia says, I am totally new to Wireshark. Do you have any recommendations about what videos I should watch? And she commented that on a video that I would recommend.
Wireshark Basics for Wi-Fi Hacking. Yes, one would think that would be a good place to start. So aside from that one video, Nick, where would you go for this kind of information?
We did a couple no-bite articles, or no-bite videos too, just like demonstrating how to use Wireshark. And that's always a fun way to learn. Because if we just, I think we did, I think I even did one about using Wireshark to discover if there's any like nefarious actors on your local network. And then if you watch that video and apply it on your own and try it on your own local network, that's a good way to get started with learning Wireshark or any new tool, really.
Okay, we've got a question from the chat, which is, what is a better subject to study, ethical hacking or digital forensics?
I think they're one and the same. Like the principles of ethical hacking have to be kept in mind when you're dealing with digital forensics.
Yeah,
I mean, and depends what you're more interested in.
I think that's really the key is like, what are you good at?
You
know? Are you good at sitting behind a computer and figuring out like what a program did, like, in real time or after the fact? Like digital forensics sounds like it's your thing, but what if you get bored of that? What if you're not so good at math and you don't want to do programming stuff and you want to maybe try to do a pen test someday and that sounds really fun to you, or you're already good at that sort of thing? Well, maybe social engineering or pen testing or like any of these other things like IT might end up being something that you're really, really good at because of the things you're interested in naturally and will always do a good job at. Not never, but like it's not always wise to do the one that like makes more money or like immediately has like a path that like seems to make sense, but you're not that passionate about, because frankly, like the things that you are really interested in will motivate you to stay up and study more and like be better at it than anybody else who's doing it, and you'll be able to stand out from the crowd. If you're just doing it kind of for the money, I would really focus on what kind of skills you have and what things are easier for you and harder for other people. For me, I'm good at presenting. So obviously me being here doing the live stream is easier for me than it is for a lot of other people. And that's really why I've kind of gravitated towards this. I love doing programming. I love all the other stuff that comes with cybersecurity, but rather than doing pen tests, I really like teaching more. So that's something that I've been able to do based on my own strengths. And that's something that you might want to consider before you get into digital forensics, and then it turns out you hate being behind a desk all day. You want to get up and either make prototypes or like do something new or like deal with a new problem you haven't dealt with like 100 times over. Like that might be something to really think about before you go into a career that involves a lot of desk time or, not very much desk time, if maybe sitting behind a computer is where you feel comfortable.
Yeah, and like often all these like skills aren't like completely segmented off. Like often you have to be interdisciplinary. So like as you learn more, like say you do focus on digital forensics, if you really want to build yourself up, you probably are going to have to learn a little bit about pen testing and social engineering to be like a more complete and robust hacker. So yeah, like whatever interests you now, like what you're saying, whatever like gets you to start studying now, that's what I would wade into first.
All right, so we have another question. Could you do a series for normies on why and how to use Signal and how to use Tor and VPN, etc.? So frankly, like we've done a couple videos on it, but those videos tend to do really poorly. Did you see any of the videos we did on like privacy and stuff?
No.
They didn't do too well. We did a couple videos on Nullbyte that were some of our first videos on locking down your computer and making it so like it's harder to get into, harder to get like access to, and they tanked. Like they performed like super poorly. So whenever we do like privacy topics, like unless it's like really got a punch, like there's some sort of cool attack that we're showing how to defend against, it's like pretty hard for us to get interested in these topics. So we very well may do that, but I just find that of all the topics that we do, those privacy topics, they perform like perhaps the worst. And they're also kind of plagued by opinion, where a lot of people advocate for VPNs and then don't really care who's using the VPN or like who owns the VPN company. But it really, again, depends on your threat model and who you're specifically worried about. So it's definitely something we will consider, but it's been a thorny issue before because, again, a lot of it is opinion and assuming what your threat model is, and so much of it depends on what specifically you're trying to hide yourself from. So
yeah, and it's really like pegging like a lot of faith to certain companies, like Signal especially. Like I really do like Signal now, but it is like a single entity with not too many people. So we could make a video like talking about how great Signal is now, but that could change down the road. But our video would still be on the internet claiming how great Signal is.
This is true. Like, and that's kind of why I'm glad we didn't do any videos like early on being like, yeah, NordVPN's the best, or like all these other VPNs that end up like or like PIA is the one you should trust. Like it might be fine, but it also might not be, seeing as they're owned by like a company that has like ties to mass surveillance. So like, like it kind of it really does bear consideration before you jump in and endorse something that might change in the future or might be purchased by somebody else, as was the case with PIA. Mm-hmm. All right, let's take another question from the previous videos.
Okay. Okay, this isn't really a question, more of a statement.
All right.
But it's one of Alex's videos saying you have to wear a hoodie to be taken seriously. So I don't know if this is like always you have to wear a hoodie or like only in like a hacking context you have to wear a hoodie.
I feel very targeted. I'm not wearing a hoodie. It's summertime. Do you know how hot it is recently? Hackers have to adapt, like we have to blend. Otherwise, like people will be able to spot us in the crowd. So we're okay, that's some sort of like reverse stereotyping here, because usually it's like you can't be considered as a real business person with that hoodie, but then like people see the hoodie like, you're a professional, I see you're technical. So maybe it really is the uniform. Maybe we need to make more hoodies. I don't know. If you want us to make hoodies and we'll wear them and you can buy them to support us, then we can all wear hoodies.
And the hood has to always be up, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah, they have to be. Yeah. Maybe not in the heat though.
Okay, this one's a good question for you. On the video bypassing brute force protection with Burp Suite, new user says, what is the mitigation here?
Oh, okay. So let's give some context. This was a video on bypassing brute force protection. So this was a deliberately vulnerable login where if you were able to exploit some problem with it, then you would be able to brute force it with impunity. So the thing that we were doing here, if memory serves, is we were doing like a routed by IP address. So we were able to spoof different IP addresses by, it was a forwarded by cookie or a parameter that we added to the web request that was telling it was coming from an external like IP address, and we were just some sort of middle box that was like routing it. So like, hey, don't ban me, I'm just the messenger. If you want to block someone, block, this other IP address. So I just like made up a bunch of IP addresses and then was able to use that forwarded by parameter to continually hit this login and brute force through a list of passwords, which was really fun and easy and cool to do. So the question was like, what is the mitigation here? And it's like disable that forwarded by parameter. Like that can be easily abused. And there's lots of different ways where that could potentially be a problem if somebody is just using this parameter to try to brute force your website. Of course, you run the risk of potentially banning like a middle box or something, but it's still a better thing to do than just have it so that anybody can break into an account with a weak password. And also, I would definitely recommend the Portswigger Labs. Like, they're so cool. These deliberately vulnerable applications allow you to try things out like this. So as an attacker, you can kind of see what it's like to go ahead and attack an application that is definitely vulnerable in a specific and known way. All right, what's up next?
On the Aircrack NG video, this person asking if two networks have the same MAC address and the same SSID or Wi-Fi name, will the user device be reconnected?
Oh my God. Okay, let's take this again. Read it one more time.
Okay, if two Wi-Fis have the same MAC address and Wi-Fi name, will the user device be reconnected? Like, are they going to connect to both of them? Like, wasn't that just the same network? If it has the same MAC address and SSID, it's the same network.
This will cause problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, because even on a network that has, for example, like multiple access points, those access points might have the same network name and be part of the same network, but they still have a different MAC address so that routing is possible. There's no other like information available to route messages other than that MAC. So if you create like a clone of a network like completely, it seems like it's just gonna like mess stuff up really bad because there's suddenly gonna be like timing issues and broadcast issues, and like I kind of want to try it. Honestly, I kind of want to try it now and just like see what happens. My impression is that it's going to mess everything up. But if somebody has tried this and they know exactly what's going to happen, please let me know.
Yeah, interesting question.
Yeah, that one was actually really cool. I like that question a lot. All right, here's one from the chat. Is Python important for ethical hacking?
I think so. I mean, I think Python is like one of the best languages for just like getting something to work really quickly. And a lot of times in hacking, that's all you really need. Like, Kody write in Python generally won't be the fastest and most efficient, but it's going to be, you're probably going to finish your Python script way before you finish your like C or Bash script. Python, and I also think it's like a really good way just to get into programming in general. And there's so many scripts on GitHub written in Python. And if you know a little bit of Python and there's something wrong with your script, well, then you can go and change it and see what's wrong and make it work how you want to.
Yeah, the like ability to work with Bash scripting and Python, I think, are the two easiest skills for beginners to learn to do proof of concepts and other things that don't require a lot of computer science knowledge. If you really want to get down and like learn C++ or like Arduino and stuff like that and compiled languages, like that's totally fine. But it does take a higher level of math in order to be able to work with it very powerfully. It takes some learning of how to abstract these things and understand like the way to create stuff before you compile something, which can be really annoying for beginners and very discouraging. Whereas Python will let you get away with all sorts of nonsense and really like allow you to create a prototype that, again, maybe doesn't work great or super efficiently, but it does the job that you need it to do and proves whatever thing you're trying to prove. And for a researcher or a hacker, like frequently that is more than enough, because you're not trying to make a production IoT product and then sell it. You're trying to just show people that this is the way it works or show off a particular thing that you want to show off. Yeah,
it's a little embarrassing, but I even like write my Bash scripts in Python. I just use a Python script and import OS, and then you can do command line scripts from there, and it's basically a Bash script.
So you like Python better than Bash scripting?
It's embarrassing to say.
What a debate.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a bad thing. I think Brandon, our friend Brandon, would probably fight you on that. Because I think that he likes Bash scripting more than anything. Yeah, but that's an interesting perspective. Yeah. Okay, here's a very specific question. Nick, this one's for you. How do I get my iPhone XS out of boot loop from over full memory? I don't have internet either.
Whoa.
I am in a hotspot from FLIR with the SIM from the phone.
Isn't FLIR like a thermo? thermal imaging camera manufacturer. There's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, it seems like their phone is stuck in a boot loop. They don't have the internet, and they're using a SIM card stuck into some sort of third-party thing.
Wait, if he doesn't have the internet,
to
how
create
did
a
he write this
hotspot.
message?
No, they've explained that because
okay.
they use the SIM card from the phone to put into a FLIR, which is generating a hotspot.
I've never heard of iPhones boot looping, but I've also never had an iPhone.
I also don't know what the iPhone XS is because I also have not had an iPhone in a very long time.
Maybe bring it to the Genius Bar. See what they can do. I don't know.
Thank you so much for that answer, Nick.
I'm sorry.
That's our official.
I had a phone that boot looped all the time, and I just sent it back to the manufacturer. Like I RMA'd it, and I'll get a new one. But it sucks if you don't have stuff backed up on there. I could see why you'd want to recover everything on that.
Okay, first I want to be clear. We are not making fun of you. We just both use Android. This is a Pixel, and I don't know what he has. But
Samsung.
Yeah, sorry. So we literally we don't have iPhones.
Normally, boot loops are pretty vicious to get out of. It's pretty hard to do on your own.
Yeah.
I don't because it's so annoying because you can't really interface it and I know in Android you can boot to a safe mode and. Sometimes if your phone's boot looping, you can still boot to that safe mode. But knowing Apple, I doubt you can boot to a safe mode or a developer mode. I just don't think that's something iPhones would let you do. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know a lot of. I'm ignorant on this.
Okay, well they're on an Android phone now, so everything's fixed. There's no problem.
Yeah, stay on Android.
Welcome and congratulations to the Android family. You can run Wiggle, wiggle.net, and do all sorts of cool war driving stuff. Poke around with Bluetooth stuff. It's going to be so cool.
Maybe it has an IR camera.
Yeah, maybe you're just an Android user now, and this is just a sign that that's the case. But I am sorry about your iPhone. I wish I could help.
Yep. Yeah, boot looping sucks. I've been there before.
All right, creating skills for creating pen testing tools. So a lot of the people who make pen testing tools would argue that this is just a little bit of Python and Bash, and you can just take other people's pen testing tools and automate them or mash them together in interesting ways. I would say there's lots of people who are not very good computer scientists, but who are great hackers who know a little bit of Bash or Python and can string together existing tools and make them do really interesting things. And there are so many different tools that are just a skin of Aircrack NG, like B-Side NG and some of these other programs, and even AirGetIn was just a skin in many cases of other tools that were automated and put together in some interesting ways. So these are tools that are used by lots of people, and by learning how existing hacking tools work and then learning how to automate them and then kind of crunch them together, kind of like Bash scripting, you can make some really interesting things without having to have a very advanced computer science background. Now, that is not the right way to do it, but it is a way to do it, and that's the way that I've done it. Nick, you have a more formal background in programming and such now. What would you say?
If you, that is a great way to start. Basically, thinking of it little blocks and building a Rube Goldberg machine of different hacking tools. But if you want to get one level deeper, is you can just go on GitHub and try to become a part of these open source hacking tool communities. Dig into the code, see if there's anything you can recognize. Maybe there's a new Python library, or maybe there's been an update to Python, so you can fix the code so it's more compliant with the newer version of Python, or taking advantage of the walrus operator they just added. Any feature you could think to add to the code, you can just do a merge request, and then you're part of the open source community. And that's a great way to build your hacking schools. It looks great for future employers. Yeah. So, working together to bring different hacking tools together and then try to contribute to the open source community.
Oh, I can't believe this. Adam has solved the problem with the iPhone, or at least has offered a solution. Volume up, volume down, hold side button.
Okay.
There you go. All right.
It's that easy.
And don't be embarrassed that you didn't know that, or if it doesn't work, because it's fine. I don't know how to work an iPhone either, so it's all good. All right, so we have some more questions about forensics. We have some questions about whether or not it's a good career to go down. What do you think? Would you, if this current thing you were doing right now didn't work out and you were told, guess what, Nick, you're being assigned to digital forensics, that's your job now, is that something you'd be excited about?
It sounds pretty cool. I'd have to learn a really new set of skills, but I think it's going to be a set of skills that's even more in desire as the world becomes more digital and our activity becomes more digital. I think it's a good career to go down, especially if you're interested in it. If you're interested in any kind of scientific field, it's probably a good career field to go down.
Yeah, I would I would agree.
Yep.
Okay, so here's a question. Are you guys going to DEF CON?
I really hope so.
Okay, well, yes, I am going to DEF CON. Nick is still deciding.
Yeah.
Maybe you all could help convince him.
Yeah. I've never been to DEF CON before. I've only been to RSA convention, which was it was interesting to go to, but I wouldn't really call it like a hacker conference. It was more of like an industry conference. But DEF CON seems really exciting. I hope to make this year my first DEF CON.
Yeah. So, what was it like talking to the NSA at RSA?
Oh my god, yeah, because that's when they launched. They launched
Hydra.
that. Actually, yeah, it was actually a really cool tool. It was like, it was like, okay, NSA, like you're on this like publicity tour. It was like a reverse engineering tool that actually like I never really used it that extensively, but people really liked it. But yeah, RSA is just like where like so many businesses get together and so much money is thrown around. And it's like it's a cool spectacle, but it's really expensive to get into if you're not an insider. From what I've heard of DEF CON, it seems like a really good place just for an individual to go.
Yeah.
And then Black Hat will be right across the street.
It will, but they're not having masks at Black Hat, so I'm kind of thinking like one super spreader event per year is kind of my limit. Hopefully, like things are a little bit better with DEF CON than they were at RSA, but I know a lot of people got from RSA, so I don't want to do that again. Yeah, just don't want to do it. All right, one question is. I really enjoy all your content. Huge fan, in fact. I'm not much for asking questions, but not too many content creators discuss Kali NetHunter. What are your thoughts on it? Do you know what Kali NetHunter is?
No, I know what Kali is. I don't know what NetHunter is, but...
So Kali NetHunter is a specific like phone/tablet-based implementation of Kali Linux that it is so hard to install. Zam actually felt so bad for us that he sent us a compatible device, and I spent a whole day trying to install Kali NetHunter on it, and the guides are so terrible and go out of like being practical so fast because it just doesn't work anymore, or like something isn't supported once you update it. So it's such a cat and mouse game. In order to get it to be able to like be properly unlocked and everything, I just kind of gave up. So that's the reason I personally haven't done it. Is if it takes more than a day, I just get frustrated. Yeah. And thank you to Zam for taking pity on us and sending us a Kali
Net. Just like an Android tablet or something?
Yeah, it's an Android tablet, but like you have to do all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I can imagine. You have to like root it and everything, I'd imagine.
I was able to boot rootless NetHunter on a Moto G Fast. Well, isn't that nice for you? Thanks for making me feel bad about it.
I feel like
send me yours. We'll do an episode on it.
Alexander has it on his necklace, on his Nexus too.
But all right, one of you get together and send us one because I've tried to install it and it's hard. But if you have one that you like, then let me know. Actually, the Nexus was a great phone, and I would love
rest in peace.
Yeah, right. I would love it to have one on a Nexus. But I mean, yeah, if you have any recommendations for specific devices, let us know. Or if you want to just send us one. I am so tired of trying to install Kali NetHunter. Although it is really cool, and the concept of doing the entire thing on a tablet is very exciting to me, and I would absolutely love to try it out sometime because it seems compact and efficient. And also, a MacBook Pro is like one of the worst things you can use for like hacking out and about. So yeah, it would be an upgrade. All right, let's take another question. I'm going to college for cybersecurity. Any advice?
Good choice. School is only stressful if you make it stressful. You can spend time, like what I've realized in my first years of school, and then I became a better student, is I spent so much time stressing out about not doing homework and studying. But if you just spend that time studying and doing homework, school's actually not that bad. Try to be active in class. Form relationships with your professors. That's arguably more important than getting good grades. Just be a participant. Just don't go with the mindset of just getting a piece of paper, because then your piece of paper will just be a piece of paper. But if you go there with the mindset of making connections and actually learning, then the piece of paper won't matter. You'll probably have a job before you even graduate.
Yeah. No, that reminds me. What Nick is saying is right. I only passed a class because I developed a relationship with our professor by giving him an oversized jacket that I was given for free at a conference. And as a result, I got a C. So, sometimes performing like little acts to like let your professor know like how serious you are about what you want to do, and that like, you might be busy sometimes because you're doing something career related, lets them know you're an adult and like you're on your way to something and you're not some scared kid that just like doesn't know what to do next.
Your professors are people too. Go to office hours and, Be a good person.
Give them free swag.
Give them
free swag.
Convention swag. If you go to DEF CON,
don't tell them it's free. Just give them the swag.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, bro. Try to talk about Cellbrite tools from Israel. Do you know what that is?
No. Cellbrite.
All right, so Cellbrite, and there's lots of other tools that use, basically, if you are a security researcher or an ethical hacker and you find a zero-day vulnerability and it is widespread and it is a serious one, you can turn it in to Google or Apple or whatever and get like a couple $1,000s, or you can turn around and sell it to one of these often Israeli companies that make weaponized versions for law enforcement. And this is for law enforcement, for governments. Like, this is the same kind of industry that you've seen with all those other companies that have been in the news getting in huge amounts of trouble for their weapons being deployed against journalists, human rights offenders, and other people that are just political opponents of governments who have the cash to buy these weapons. So this is kind of incentivized behavior now. If you are the kind of person who finds these sorts of vulnerabilities, there's now a huge marketplace to be able to turn them in and get lots of cash, no questions asked. So that's really like my take on the situation is it's a black market for zero-day vulnerabilities, where because we don't have a great way of incentivizing people to turn these into, you know, the right business that's going to try to fix the problem, instead people can turn around and make problems for everybody else while making a pile of cash at the same time. And incentivizing that behavior is a problem. So I really don't like these companies, and I think that they make it harder for everybody else to have devices that are secure, because it means that those discoveries are not going to the people who are going to fix it. They're going to the people who are going to exploit it for the highest bidder.
Yeah, and how can you outbid like a nation state? You know,
Yeah.
they have like
exactly.
huge pools of resources, and also at the same time, people who find the 0 days can just exploit them themselves if there's a way to make money from that.
Definitely. All right, Parrot Home or Parrot Home Edition or Security Edition?
Ooh, I've never messed around with Parrot. I know that was one of your first popular videos.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
I mean,
it was.
depends on. I mean, imagine like it depends on the application it's being used for.
Yeah, I personally use Home because I use it at home, and I didn't want to. They clearly packaged it for me if that's what I'm doing. So, but yeah, I have not done the Security Edition just because I like the fact that Parrot Security OS feels more like a daily driver than Kali Linux does. It has. I've like played video games on it and like done other stuff aside from just security research, and the experience was pretty good. I know you can probably do that stuff on Kali too, but it feels like you're driving an armored personnel carrier to the grocery store.
I've only put like Kali on like a Pi or something that's only purpose is for doing like network stuff. Yeah, like mean network stuff. But like I feel like just using Ubuntu or like any like simple Debian-based Linux distribution, you can do like almost anything you want hacking related. Might take a little bit more spinning up to do, but yeah.
All right. Somebody is asking us to endorse an institute. I can't do that.
Yeah, unless they have to earn endorsement.
This is true. Yeah, exactly. There you go, Nick. A new business model. Earn your endorsements.
Oh, Ahan asks, what laptop should you use for ethical hacking? And here's a chance to plug my new used ThinkPad. I just have to say it is nude and disgusting. Where are the stickers? I like it incognito mode. It's part of the hacking because you got to blend in, when you're hacking.
All right.
If you have a bunch of stickers on it, people are gonna watch out for you. But now they just think I'm a boring business dude.
I guess that's fair. I just I don't want anyone who's like a developer to see stickers on my laptop and be like, oh, we have a lot in common. I want them to be like, oh no, I should turn off my Wi-Fi.
Well, I guess you can have like a conference laptop with stickers, and then you could have like a real world laptop that blends in without stickers. But I got this thing for like $300 from some wholesaler on eBay, who just like buys them from businesses who are done with them, and then you buy. I just bought it without an SSD. Bought like a $100 SSD off of eBay, installed it, and then I have like a perfectly workable laptop. It's great. And I like it. One of my favorite features is that it's not expensive because I'm not worried about it.
So Nick, how do you deal with the reality that your laptop is subsidized because it contains spyware?
Oh my gosh. I just don't think about it.
All right. Someone asked, what's a good SMTP server? F.
What's a good? Oh, like if you want to make your own SFMT server?
I would just use something with Python. I would get on GitHub and look at the first Python-based tool to make my own SMTP server.
That's something I've thought about doing, like buying my own domain and then like buying a server somewhere. like using my own like domain as an email, but I haven't. There's guides that like show you how to use open source tools.
Questions about the stickers. Good, finally, what the people really want. How often do I change out my stickers? Every time I bring this stupid MacBook to the Apple store, they're like, oh yeah, good news, we're going to replace your screen because it turns out there's something that we did, it was a little oopsie, but we're going to have to take the shell. And I'm just like, ugh. And I'm always there, so I just take a picture of it, and then I get it back, and it's totally nude. It's just silver and bright, and it hurts my eyes to look at, so I immediately have to sit down and slap. This one has been this way for, I think, about 2 years, like a year and a half, maybe a little longer. The other one before that was probably another 2 years. So, and then, the one that Alex currently has been that way since I got that computer like 3 or 4 years ago. So I keep it on for as long as I can. And you literally have to rip off the top of the computer in order to get me to go back to the start. So
you could also buy like one of those clamshell cases and put them on the case.
I've done that, and I've done the reverse where like I had the matte black case and then the stickers underneath like hidden and protected. So when I was out and about, then I wouldn't have to have a hideously nude laptop, and instead I could keep it like like a Yakuza like tattoo, like keep it hidden until the moment I need to reveal my power and make everyone be like, whoa, that's a lot of stickers. Somebody else asked, can you buy these stickers or do you have to earn them? Well, some of these stickers are specifically from like a hackerspace in Norway where like I think you have to go there in order to get that sticker. This was from like a particular project at the C3 conference that I participated in that was just that year, so you kind of have to be there. And some of these were also from conferences and stuff like that. This one you can only get if you buy I think like a product from Spacehoon store. So some of these are not free and you would need to actually physically go to those places or buy a product in order to get them. Other ones I got for free from conferences, and that's the vast majority of these are either organizations I really like, or like WSC or Molvad or things like that. Bug Crowd, for example. And then other things are just like this, just says clown computing on this side, and has a picture of a cloud with a like clown nose on it, and there's no meaning behind that. That's just what it means.
Yeah, but that's part of the charm, right? Because they're your own, and they're places like it's like this like fingerprint of like places you've been, and products you enjoy.
Exactly, yeah, and like there's like information about like a school in like Germany that my friend went to that's very misleading because I have no ties to it whatsoever. I think I walked through it one time. So. Very random, but I like my sticker arrangement a lot. It suits my personality.
I like mine too.
Do I have the MacBook M1 chip? No, I don't. I ended up getting this one because I needed everything to work on it, and I was like, I'll wait for the next one. Like I'll wait until they figure this one out a little bit better.
But it looks like they figured it out. I really wish I liked macOS.
Spin up a virtual machine and tell me that, that they
That's
figured
true.
it out. Yeah, so like running VirtualBox just doesn't work on the M1 still.
I can see that, but like for everything else, it seems like they're so fast.
It does seem nicer.
They're so fast.
My next one is for sure going to be one of those, although I need to get a ThinkPad too. I'm jealous, honestly. Like having a ThinkPad that takes USB Type-C is like an easy, nice experience for the most part. They're pretty rugged. They're cool. Yep. Like I like them a lot. But then, a MacBook Pro is just so limiting. Like in terms of like what it gives you access to, it's so precious about like giving up its resources or letting you like do them for things that it didn't intend. And it's so reactive, and it just like assumes that you're an idiot sometimes and like enforces that with vigor.
But it has an advantage over Windows where it's Unix based, which makes using command line tools like much more feasible. But I don't know. I don't have as much experience on Mac OS as you do.
I've been using it for a long time, and it's very difficult to have it. All right, someone said that they never got their Ready a sticker when they got their Nugget and shirt. Can we send them one? Yes, of course. Yeah, just hit us up. We will always fix problems with orders and things like that, especially if you didn't get your sticker. That's kind of the point, is we make them so that if people who have bought our products or like supported us get to show it off. And also, I really like the design. A friend made it, so yeah, we'll definitely take care of that. Just hit us up with an email, and we'll do it. Bro, please help. I tried to download Kali. Give me an error. Contact your manufacturer. I reinstalled in twice the I can't figure it out, so I can just keep up studying.
So what kind of error? Like, okay, we can use this as a lesson for like asking for help too.
Yeah, for one, I am not your manufacturer, so you did not follow there was a very simple instruction here, and you already have veered away from it. So first, as someone who is not your manufacturer, I do not have very much information about your problem, such as your operating system, what you're trying to do, what has happened.
What kind of error? That's an important one.
Yeah, what kind of error. And also, like, the number one thing I can say that makes you good at being a hacker is learning how to Google error messages and figure out stuff for yourself. You need to make, here's a couple of hints. You need to use quotes, and you need to make sure to disable any results from more than 3 years ago. If you do those two things, I think you'll find the answer to most of your problems installing Kali Linux. Or maybe just find out that it's impossible because somebody else already took that path and learned exactly what's going on. So full quotes around whatever computer you have and whatever error you're getting will probably get you where you want to go.
Yeah, unless you're blazing new trails. But
help, there is a compiler in my shell code. Hey, great. It's one inside the other. That's double.
Not the compiler.
Feeding two birds with one scone, as we say. All right. Do you think there will be a high demand of cybersecurity with hard times coming? All right, so assuming there's like some sort of recession and people cut back on hiring, what are cybersecurity jobs relatively safe, do you think?
Safer than a lot of industries. Like, you know, these companies will continue to have to exist, but those departments may be a little more stretched. Especially, like, I could see maybe like entry level being a little harder to hire, but I don't know. The tech continues to grow. It might, like, the market won't be as red hot as it was for like the last 6-7 months, but I think, you know, if you still have skills, you'll find a way to get a job.
Yeah, I would agree. And also there's a lot of like private sector stuff or private sector adjacent, like government contractors, like defense contractors even, who you could potentially like work for. You know, if the private sector isn't looking so good and it's just kind of government contracts. I mean, with hard times internationally, there's also going to be tons of cyber contracts. So, you know, frankly, like, it might depend on where you want to work, but if you're open to doing public contracts as well, like for the government and such, then there are some private sector jobs that feed into all of that and will probably be doing just fine during a coming recession. But if you're doing like cybersecurity for like a startup that's like sole, you know, income is like tied to something that is now in recession and doesn't look profitable anymore, then obviously like a lot of those jobs are going to be threatened, and there might be some maybe like reasonable questions about the business you work for and whether or not they're going to be in a good shape, depending on what's about to happen to their bottom line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but yeah, try to get as many certs as you can and learn as many technologies as you can. Like learn Splunk. That's what I've heard.
Oh my gosh, learn Splunk. Oh,
learn Splunk.
Do you learn Steganography in an ethical hacking degree? I should hope so. I mean, a lot of the examples of different pieces of malicious software have obfuscation that revolves around like downloading a JPEG with hidden instructions in it or hidden code in it. So it is something that's really out there, and people should know about it when they're doing, for example, incident response or forensics. For somebody who's just doing like kind of like more basic stuff, might not be necessary. So I would say in an average course, it's probably not going to be taught.
Yeah, but it is like, if you do, because we did a steganography like example for one of the classes we took together, and it's like a really fun and flashy example.
Oh yeah,
it's really fun to do though if you can get it to work.
Yeah, that was like both dumb and also cool at the same time.
Yeah.
Because like we just did it because we wanted to, but in fact, like if people don't know about it, then it makes for a really easy way of confusing analysts or reverse engineers or something like that. So yeah, it's cool. Like being able to know how to do that or look for it to detect it is definitely a useful skill. But frankly, I think that most trainings are still kind of behind on it and aren't going to really include it in most cases. But then again, I haven't been through one recently, so I don't know for sure.
Learn SQL instead. I mean, yeah, probably SQL is also useful.
Probably a lot easier than learning Splunk.
Yeah.
What is the future of cybersecurity when quantum computers are easily available? I've been trying to figure that out because there's so much hype around it. There's so many companies that are. When we went to RSA, there was just like a bunch of companies that were like, the future of quantum is now. Yeah. And then like they don't actually do anything. You know, there's like nothing really interesting that they're selling. So it's really hard to say what the implications are going to be, aside from it seems like there's going to be some cryptographic models that are no longer like too complicated to solve or require like too much work to solve.
Rudimentary to break.
Exactly.
But you know, it's like what you're talking. It's like we're kind of like the hype train of new technology. Where like everyone's super excited, and then we realize it's not there yet, and then like the hype kind of dies down for who knows how long, and then it'll become viable. So I think we're at like the peak where like everyone's super excited about it, but There's probably a lot more development until it becomes like a day-to-day technology.
How do you get known as a hacker? Well, that depends on who you're trying to attract and whether you believe any attention is good attention. So certainly our friend Marcus got a lot of attention, but I'm not sure that for like mental health reasons I would necessarily recommend the route that he went down. If you didn't want purely like legal / negative attention for at least a small amount of time, then there's other ways of doing this, like putting out your own content, putting out your own proof of concepts, making sure that you're active on Twitter, like curating things and like promoting projects that you like or that you're affiliated with, and generally making a presence by contributing back to the community. I think one of the most important things is like if you're contributing and making your own things, people will learn about you, people will find you because they're looking, they're all looking in the same space and the space is relatively small, like people bump into each other. So yeah, that would be my advice.
Yeah, you don't want attention from law enforcement. It's
yeah, exactly. If you can avoid it.
So don't do anything illegal.
I mean, unless those are the friends you're trying to make. And it really does depend. All right. I'm digging into AI weaponization. Do you have any interest in that? I have an interest in surviving it. I have an interest in like being as far away from wherever that's being tested or deployed as possible. I think it's inevitable, but I really, it kind of sucks, honestly, to know that in the future, like there's going to be like weaponized AI, just like
there's going to be robots fighting each other.
Like, well, no, just like killing people with less money, and being able to like just pour money into like AI like death machines, like is a little, I mean, not the harsh what you're working on, but it's a little depressing. Imagining, I don't know, like running through the killing fields, trying to avoid like perfectly aimed blast from like a robot death machine that you're currently working on. So more power to you. If you're also that guy I went to school with who was developing synthetic muscle to build a Terminator, I'm also keeping an eye on you as well. But both of those projects, they sound cool. I think they're totally possible and in some ways inevitable. But I'm not sure if I, or maybe even you, want to be the one to unleash that onto the world. It's like the taser flying drone thing that they wanted to put in like every school and then walked it back once they realized that putting it in every school would mean cutting holes in the door so it could fly through and cause a huge fire risk. So like by like trying to save people from one thing, they would actually be like making people vulnerable to a much more likely event, a fire, and having everybody die from that instead. So just one of those things where, like, if I could avoid running from a drone that's electrocuting me, like, for another 10 years, just give me that, like, pushing this stuff down the line is one of those things where you just have to wake up and be like, wait, someone's going to buy this thing, and then maybe later on, I'm going to have to run from it. And if you don't think you could hide from it, then, like, maybe don't build it. All right. sorry if you were excited about your death machine. But yeah, not for me. What tools would you use to extract a phishing SMS message from your Android phone to analyze it without setting off the exploits? So, like a phishing SMS message is like typically going to be sending you a link. Like in almost every, unless it's like some sort of like thing that's doing like a 0 day and you've pissed off like Saudi Arabia, for example, you're probably going to be getting a link that might have an exploit, or it might have something else. So what I tend to do, and I get these all the time, and what I'll do is I will open it up in OWASP Zap, but I'll modify, for example, the user agent, and I'll make it look like it's being opened by a mobile device, just so it checks that box if it's checking for, making sure only mobile devices can see it. And then once I get the response back, I look through and I see what's going on, and I let it load step by step by step and see what websites it's connecting to and like what kinds of elements are involved in the phishing attack. I would say if you're concerned about an exploit, then you would want to do this in a virtual machine. But opening up a phishing link in a virtual machine in OWASP Zap, I think, is the absolute safest way you can do this, because you can pick apart every piece of information that's being exchanged. And that's how I flooded a scammer with the B-movie script. After finding out where I needed, what endpoint I could post, basically whatever I wanted to, and that there was no limit to how long I could make it, I just broke up the B-movie script and then sent it over and over and over. And then for a couple times, I actually sent the whole script in just one request. So that was actually very satisfying, and I very likely filled up and then caused errors and problems in the scammers' infrastructure. So I was proud to do that, and it was a lot of fun. So you can do this safely. I just recommend making sure you're not doing it on your Android device. Instead, virtual machine, OWASP app.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What else have we got?
Ooh, I have never. Okay, Glowing One asks if we've ever tried Emacs. I barely use Vim, so I'm no way qualified to use Emacs. But I've watched videos about what people can do with Emacs, and if you invest the time and patience into it, it seems like Emacs is the best text editor to use.
But that was very accommodating of the Emacs people. That's very nice.
Yeah,
I know our friend Brandon also has very strong opinions about this.
He uses Vim though, I believe.
He uses Vim with a custom profile that does everything you could ever possibly imagine wanting Vim to do. Mm-hmm. So I think that's cheating a little bit, but he's not here to defend himself, so I don't feel right. Can you do a comprehensive guide to bug bounties so I can earn a little money as I study cybersecurity? So we've done a couple videos on the sorts of bounties you would probably be getting, which is honestly going through and learning a lot of the ports rigger labs. These are really good to get started with vulnerable web applications, and that's frankly what the majority of these bug bounties are covering. Web applications from companies that are trying to do some sort of login thing, or really want to find any authentication bypass, or any of these really interesting ways of breaking into a vulnerable web server. So I would say those are good ways to get started with learning what kinds of bugs you would be turning in. As insofar as actually turning them in, that's where I would recommend working with a company like BugCrowd or HackerOne. There's been some debate about the way they've been managing this recently, so some hackers have not been happy with the way that they do disclosure, but it does protect you, and it does also make sure that you get paid when you're supposed to get paid for the most part. So, it's up to you what company you decide to work with, and you should check and see what other people in the community are saying about each company. But I would say those are two really good companies to get started with if you wanted to start doing the sort of web-based pen testing. Because unless you're going to physically walk into someone's company and start doing pen testing, or you're going to be invited to do a bug bash, which is where a bunch of researchers are flown out and then all attack a wireless camera for a couple days and try to find as many bugs as they can. It's generally going to be web application stuff that you'll be doing. Can you do a video about physical pen testing? What is that? What is physical pen testing?
Well, isn't that using something like a USB or a reducky, and using hardware to try to either install malware on a device or extract any information from a physical device, which requires some kind of physical reaction, whether you are there or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I would say the difference is it's something that also is able to exploit physical access. So if somebody has a USB stick on the back of their monitor, or a USB port on the back of their monitor, which lots of receptionists do, creating a distraction or something to pull people away from their desk for a couple seconds in order to plug something in and then run a script on it. That's the kind of thing that a physical engagement, a physical pen test would do, which is really fun. And frankly, trying to get into a company you're not authorized to by pretending to be a third-party vendor or a new employee or somebody looking, that's interviewing there or something, all that stuff is a good way to try other skills beyond just sitting there and trying to send out an exploit. And often these work really, really well because people who are good at this sort of thing are really good at it, and they tend to have pretty high success rates. So
social engineering could take you far away. Far away. Yeah. Like SIM swapping probably accounts for most of the cryptocurrencies that's stolen. SIM swapping does so much nowadays, and that's almost entirely social engineering.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so yes, we can definitely do an episode on physical pen testing and the kinds of things that you can only really get away with by going in person. But we'll need a good business that lets us do it, so we'll try to figure that one out. Yeah. Otherwise, we'll have to do skits, which isn't quite as fun, but we'll see. All right, any other good questions? All right. Hey guys, long-time listener, first-time caller. I'm scanning with Wireshark, and my modem claims it has multiple MAC addresses. Why is that? Well, the reason why you might have multiple access points is because, for one, you might be broadcasting on 5 gigahertz and 2.4 gigahertz. That's one reason. Or you could have multiple APs. So you could be, in order to avoid like being congested, have different access points on different channels in order to avoid congestion and provide more bandwidth for different devices. A lot of different routers will have like multiple antennas that allow this, and by being present on multiple channels, then that can make it so it's easier for your router to provide better service. So that would be my answer. Like if they all have the same network name and you are sure that it's your router, so you're getting like consistent power readings, then that's probably the case. However, if one of them is just like much weaker than the other ones, then it's possible that you have a malicious access point there that's posing as something else in your network. That's a little bit less likely, but obviously, like if there's something different about a packet from one of those access points aside from the other ones, where it's just like much, it's coming from a different place basically, then you could have an event where actually somebody's found out your password and has joined your network, and maybe on the other side of not that I've ever done this before, maybe they've purchased like a $30 network extender, plugged it into their wall just on the other side of your wall, and then connected it to your network, and now it's acting as an access point for them too, and extending your signal into their apartment. I would never do that, but someone could. So watch out. Could be you, maybe. All right, so I think we are pretty much out of time for this week. Nick, thank you for coming on, and it's just good to have you back after making a bunch of content on Nullbyte, and again, making one of our best performing ever episodes on Hackbyte. You guys should check it out. If you haven't seen it, Nick's episode is, let me pull it up one more time, how to find anything on the internet with Google Dorks. And as the chief dork, it's great
King of the dorks.
Yeah, as King of the Dorks, it's great to see this video has 575,000 views. So that's a lot for us on Hack5. So if you haven't seen it, check out this video. It's one of our best performing of all time and features Nick. And Nick, if people want to continue following you, how would they do that? Like physically, like would they put like an AirTag tracker on your luggage,
please.
or like?
If you want to follow me on the internet, you can find me at ns_Godshall. I don't use Twitter as much as I used to, but you can try to DM me, and sometimes I reply. No promises.
All right, very low commitment and manage expectations from Nick. I, however, probably will reply, provided it is sane. And even if I don't, you can catch us on Fridays as well, doing our stream where we are going to be talking about the news of the week. So we don't do that one on Hack5. If you're watching on Hack5, you'll have to subscribe to Security Forward, that's Security FWD, in order to follow along, and it should be fun. So a big shout out, per always, to Veronis. Thank you so much for letting me basically just hang out with my closest friends, both on and offline. And thank you to everybody who's been live in the chat today, getting your questions answered. If you're just getting here and you're freaking out because we're leaving, do not worry. We will do this again next week. And if you comment on the video below on YouTube, we will go and make sure that we answer your questions and that they are answered first next week. So you will not be ignored. So we will see you next week. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out. And yeah, bye.
Bye-bye.